If by chance you are dreaming right now, wake up! Welcome to Horror Night! Welcome, everybody, to Horror Night Spooky Friday. And I got a very special guest on tonight. I have to say, I got a hold of their YouTube channel. I was watching all the short films, and it gave me some anxiety in a different way, and some of the stuff was uncomfortable in an unusual way, and everything was really unique, but the messages were really beautiful. And that's the one and only Sky Belluomini, they're her channel, and I have to say, very impressed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's Belluomini. Trust me, nobody ever gets it right on the first time. It's fine.
There's a whole bunch of missing letters in there that are just silent, huh?
Yeah, it's Italian, so they
I'm
butchered it.
Italian.
My
I
father
get
came
it though.
over.
Nobody ever gets my last name actually right either. It's always one letter or one vowel off. But yeah, let me ask you. I mean, I was very, like I said, I watched all the films in like 2 days. I just to give it some time. I could have watched them all in one. I'm a short fan. I'm a fan of short film. I like shorts just because I think it gives an opportunity to watch something without dedicating hours of your day,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of break it up. I can watch a couple now, watch a couple later. But I was just kind of hooked to the TV because again, the topics of them all were very kind of sensitive topics that a lot of people don't bring into cinema.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that I do a lot. Um, my like the way I approach filmmaking is I like to give the people who wouldn't necessarily be shown, so like people with mental health issues, people who are LGBTQ, like the downtrodden, the people that society um, looks away to. I like to give them a voice with my films.
No, I think that's really like it's nice because it's something different, because like you said, a lot of the people don't get a voice, or it turns into almost an exploitation film or something else.
Mhm.
It's never truly about the cause. But you were I felt your videos were both educational
Thank you.
and and it had like, some good points and pivots and plots and different maneuvers. I enjoyed just the whole flow of them. And
Thank you.
like I said, it's not usually my, total genre of, kind of films. Normally I'm just, I'm a straight up, I like a lot of just horror, or psychological horror, but this one was a little bit different. Some of these things, were, kind of scary. Like the one about just the chronic illness, I thought was
Mhm.
kind of scary. And the first one too, because there's a lot of people that I think suffer with eating disorders
Mhm.
that, especially in today's age, just don't get talked about.
Mhm. Exactly. And I do try to incorporate horror into a lot of my films. The Club is a great example of that. It actually premiered as a horror movie, and it was nominated for a whole bunch of things, including Best Film at its premiere. It's won a whole bunch of awards since then, but obviously, you get the intensity of this man is stuck in a bathroom and he can't get out without without maybe even living. And so I really wanted to incorporate that into that film, especially with it being based off of Pulse, the Pulse nightclub shooting. So that one was really important to me. Um, Dance to You Die as well. There's a little bit of a horror aspect when she wakes up dead because she's not eating. I feel like that's something that's not talked about a lot with eating disorders. Like, yes, you can die from them if it gets to that point. And I wanted to incorporate that as well. And with chronic, the movie about the chronic illness, I have six chronic illnesses. I experience a lot of the symptoms that the main character does, and it is scary. I mean, you never know where you're going to pass out at. I've passed out at work. I've passed out at school, and it's like obviously you don't know what's going to happen to you, and that in and of itself is very scary. And that's what I wanted to show in that film.
No, and I think, like I said, a lot of people aren't, especially coming with having the experience yourself, aren't always as bold enough to put it out there or to put themselves out there as to being kind of the subject.
Hmm.
Because it hits close to home. It's it's easy to write about something that never it comes close to you, or some boogeyman or some shadow in the dark that isn't so real. But when it's something like you said affected every single day, it must be kind of hard to kind of do that because again, everything kind of like it's real as it's happening, but yet you're making a film about it.
Hmm. And that's
But
something about my films that it does hit close to home. Actually, I've just had more symptoms of my heart condition be brought up recently. I just had an implant put in my chest last week, so it is something that is very real, and it's something that not a lot of people know about. I've come to face with some doctors who don't even know what my conditions are, and like that's something we need to be talking a lot more about our chronic illnesses, autoimmune disorders, and you know, not everything is things like cancer, like heart disease, that things a lot of people know about, whereas mine, like I said, not even some doctors know what they are.
and that I think I mean and yeah, it's kind of like when things are kind of rare in in the illness, it's kind of like where it's only a few people talking about it, it's hard to find that kind of support. You mentioned other things like cancer and so forth. Well, I mean, these things are much more dominant in society, so people have these support groups. They have friends to talk to about it. There's all these extra things. There's not necessarily that for people. I know somebody else that had like just a lot of different random illnesses that kind of just made a day like hell out of them. And I always just to me that's scary. I mean, I can imagine having one ailment or two ailments, but when you have like four or five different things going wrong in different places, mentally, I think I would probably lose it.
I have a couple of times actually. So like I said, I have six chronic illnesses. One of them is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which if you know what collagen is, it's basically the glue that holds your whole body together. And I don't produce it. So it causes a lot of problems. Um, Mainly my joints don't stay together as well. I mean, you can look at this. I can put my thumb to my arm. I can touch my nose to my knee. Like I'm very flexible, but
You're a
it's
hell of a
because
contortionist, I'll say that.
I not to brag or anything. I was able to make a human pretzel out of myself up until puberty. But it's because like a lot of the stuff that holds your joints together, your ligaments, like the tissue and stuff, it's very weak because it's not there. So it's basically just strings, very, very loosely holding me together. And it affects everything. It affects your skin. It affects your joints, just like I said. It affects your digestive system, your reproductive system, your brain. Like everything can go under this umbrella. And with my luck, everything does go under that umbrella. My EDS, it basically affects everything else. I'm neurodivergent because of my EDS. I can't have kids because of my EDS. My heart is the way it is because of my EDS. A lot of my joints I have arthritis in a lot of my joints because of EDS, and I'm only 25.
Yeah, that's scary right there in itself. That's a horror story. I mean, just the thing about, just I mean, I'm glad you can have a sense of humor over it, but to a lot of people, I think that would just be terrifying that their
It
bones
is.
and stuff aren't, held together.
My EDS isn't to that point yet, but I'm in a couple of support groups online where it's like their entire arm can be detached about from my arm. Yes, I am talking about others down lows. We love our zebras here. Um, like can detach their entire arm, or like can detach their whole leg or their knee or something, and it's scary.
I mean, cinematically, you can do probably some cool body horror movies, but like I said, day to day, that's probably like just, I mean, besides the pain and everything else, just a terrifying thought. And just, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, but you bring in these kinds of things or similar things, or just touching on light about just all these things. It's like, do you feel relieved in a kind of sense from it? Is it kind of freeing to put that kind of content out there?
It is. The why I talk about it so much as I do is because I believe the more you talk about it, the more awareness people are getting from it. And awareness is everything. Awareness brings cures, awareness brings treatments. And even if it's, oh, I talked to this person is a friend of this person, is a friend of this person, is a friend of this person who's a doctor or a medical researcher or something like that. So I will never stop talking about them. And I talk a lot. So it's just kind of how it goes.
Now, let me ask you, what got you into film? What got you into making or getting the idea that you wanted to make a film in general?
So I first started out as a writer. And I've always loved movies. I hope my Aunt Vicky and my Uncle Rico are watching because you're about to get your shout out right now. So I grew up in Chicago, a little suburb north of it called McHenry, and my family are movie people. We love movies. We always have, and my Aunt Vicky in particular, she owned a cabin in northern Wisconsin in the middle of the woods. Like there was a restaurant across the street, there were some houses around it, and we were next to a lake, but it was mostly woods. And this woman, from the age of when I was about 5, 4 or 5, she played horror movies. Every weekend we went up to that cabin. It started out very traumatizing, as you can imagine, being at a cabin in northern Wisconsin in the middle of the woods. The irony is not lost on me. I was very scared as a child. But as I started getting into like my teen years, I would say, I started thinking about this stuff and I'm like, okay, am I starting to like this? Is this weird? But my Aunt Vicky is the weirdest person you'll ever know, and I love her because of it. So we used to do a lot of that. And then my Uncle Rico, he actually worked at Skywalker Ranch. He wanted to get into filmmaking. Unfortunately, he didn't go that path, but he loved Star Wars. He still does. He's the reason I'm the nerd that I am. Um, and so we love Star Wars. We love sci-fi. Marvel, when that started becoming a thing, we would always talk about it. And I was like, I could do that. I was a very imaginative kid. I was always coming up with stories and things. When I would go play with my friends, I'm like, okay, we're just going to go with the story, make up as we go. And we did that a lot. So I was very imaginative. And so when 5th grade came along, a little precursor to this, I was not a popular kid whatsoever. Everyone hated me. I had like one, maybe 2 friends, but everyone hated me. I was undiagnosed autistic. I mean, I was the weird kid. But we came up with our first writing assignment, my teacher, Mrs. Crystal. And we wrote it. I wrote this story about puppies, which I'm going to be honest, I can't even remember half of it because obviously it was like, 20 years ago? But I wrote it, turned it in, I was the perfect kid. I turned everything in. And it's like a week went by and she had me stay after class before everyone went to recess. And I freaked out because I was the perfect kid. And I was like, what did I do? And she was like, calm down. And I'm like, okay. And she started going through all the stories. And mine was the only one with an A on it. And I was like, did the rest of them suck or something? Or she was like, this is really good. Okay, cool. Can I go now? And she was like, do you want to read this aloud to the class? And I'm like, sure, because me, perfect kid, never said no to a teacher. And so the next day I wrote it as part of like our English section, whatever. And half the room stood up and clapped.
Ooh.
And I'm like, what? You guys don't like me. What? And I always say to people when I tell them this story, I was popular for 2 days because the entire school found out about it. Because you know how kids, and whole things blow up. And everyone wanted me to read their story or read them my story. And I was like, what is this? Like, am I popular? What? Weird kid. But that went on, and then I had basically an amazing array of English teachers up until high school. And they just kept fostering my love of writing and my love of horror writing, because when you're 5th, 6th, 7th-year-old kid, you're not writing about kidnapping and murder and all the other stuff, but they let me do it, so I did it. And when my freshman year of high school came, my teacher, she was pregnant and was out for the semester, so we had a substitute teacher. His name was Mr. Hutchinson, and he actually got his degree in screenwriting, but became an English teacher. And I was still writing, still doing a lot of things. And he's like, have you ever tried screenwriting? Because like the stories I was writing were mostly short stories. There wasn't like book writing didn't really click for me, but that was the only thing I knew how to do. And he was like, why don't you try this? So he put Final Draft in front of me and I just started writing. And I'm like, I like this a lot. He's like, well, here, just use my account. And I'm like, okay. And I just kept writing scripts. Eventually I didn't use Final Draft anymore. I just used my computer. Because obviously Final Draft for a high schooler is way out there. And I just kept writing. And then was it my sophomore year of high school, maybe my junior year, I submitted a script to UW Whitewater, University of Wisconsin Whitewater. They have a creative writing festival every year. Excuse me. And I submitted to it, and my story actually got an honorable mention. And that was when I sat down and I was like, this could actually be a serious thing. And so I kept writing. I wrote my first feature at 17.
Wow.
And then college was starting to come. And I told my parents I wanted to be a film major. I wanted to write movies. I almost gave my dad a heart attack. My mom was okay with it, but my dad's a very stern man. And I almost gave him a heart attack. I had a couple other conversations with him to get him to be okay with this. Went through college, kept writing. And then I heard about this little thing called OIF, which is the Organization of Independent Filmmakers. Used to be Orlando Independent Filmmakers, but now they have a couple of chapters all over the United States. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start getting on set. I started off in makeup because that was another love that I had. I still have. It's just, I prefer writing. So I started getting on set as a makeup artist. And people loved having me on set. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. Because at that point of my college career, it was COVID and I was very bored. And I do not deal with boredom well. And so I just kept getting on set, kept doing things. And then when COVID ended, my sophomore year of college, I was like, I want to be writing because I've always been a writer. And so their next challenge, so they do 3 genres that you can submit your film to. It's like a script to screen thing, 48 hour, but instead of 2 days, you get like 2 months. And so it was June, which is Pride Month, and I'm a very gay person. We love our queers, but I wanted to write something about Pulse. And I talked to a couple of my friends about it, and they're like, you should totally do this. And like a couple of the people I've been on set with, they're like, you should totally do it. So I did it. I wrote Club, and obviously it was based off the Pulse nightclub shooting. And like I said, it got a lot of nominations, including Best Picture, and it got a lot of awards going from there. So yeah, now I'm a filmmaker, I guess.
How did you now when you I mean after the I mean you wrote the story, you got the script, you submitted it. Did you have to now go, find the cast, find, the camera
Yeah,
person, find everybody? Did you
yeah.
end up did you end up directing it though yourself?
Yes, I did. I don't direct as much anymore. I prefer doing other things on set. I'm usually an assistant director or a script supervisor now. But yes, I did end up directing it. I directed my first couple of films, and then my former business partner, he directed the most of them. We recently split, but I usually find other directors because now my film circle is probably close to 300 people. So I'm like, hey, you want to direct this? And most of them will say yes. Um, so that's how it's gotten to now. But yeah, I did direct it. And I just don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy writing. Like I'll do it if somebody asks me to. Um, but I prefer writing.
But even with your own, and you trust people with your own stories, do you have like,
Oh yeah.
if you were to give your story out, do you like have restrictions? You can't change X, Y, and Z, or do you just like, here you go, do what you can with it?
So I would say probably closer to the first option. Like there are things that I love about my scripts, and there is at least one thing in every script that I love that will not change. But I'm usually pretty flexible. I would like to say, my friends, if you're watching this, please correct me afterwards if I'm just totally crazy. But I'm usually pretty flexible on changing things. I just communication is a very good thing when you're in film because I have been with people who are not the most communicative people, and I'm not gonna lie, it pissed me off because they don't talk
It's
to each.
hard to get anything done when there's no communication. The simplest tasks become just painstakingly hard, and honestly, there's so many miscommunication that everything just becomes a problem. I've experienced similar things, and I get that. Communication can solve almost everything if it's good
Exactly.
communication.
Like we're a team. We're in this to make this thing that is usually a pretty beautiful thing. So why don't we talk to each other? Um, Unfortunately, that's not how all people roll, which is fine. I still work with them. It's just if I have a story, I'm probably not going to be asking you to do it. Like if you ask me to write you something, I will do it because I love writing, and I will do it every single day for the rest of my life. But if it's my but if it's my project, I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to ask you to do it. I'm going to ask somebody who I know I work well with.
Yeah, no, and then that makes sense. Just because, like you said, you're gonna have it go back and forth if there's things, and you just want that communication line open so everything just goes smooth with the project.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's some people that they're very kind of protective of their own works in general. Some people won't let anybody else direct it. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are very lenient; they'll let anybody take a stab. They just might not like it.
Mm-hmm. Like I've learned to be more humble with things. Specifically on my second film, The Table. I didn't take a piece of advice that I really should have. And so now I like to listen to everyone because you never know like whether it's going to change something or not. My most recent project that it's in post right now, it's called Sleeping Brittany. It's a farce based off of Sleeping Beauty, and I wrote
Oh,
the play. I wrote the play for it last year, and we decided to make it into a short film. And my director Chad Wangle, he made it such an amazing thing that I definitely couldn't have done by myself. And he's amazing. He can do everything with his hand tied behind his back. He's just that kind of person, that kind of filmmaker. And it just became something amazing. And I hope it wins a lot of awards because I think it's hilarious. And I think that, it's a really good film. And I was really excited to have him on it because he just made it so much better.
do you find it? I mean, 'cause I noticed. I mean, yes, some of your movies were talking about very serious things, but some of them did have some comedy in it, where people like almost like had like a musical vibe to it. Others had other senses that kind of definitely softened the tone a little bit. To kind of
Mhm.
laugh, but you're still, receiving the important message. Is that something like you like to do? Kind of bring humor into it?
Yeah, I find that humor makes it not so serious because I'm the kind of person who I get really into my feels sometimes. I'm an empath, so when I start to feel sad, I start to feel sad, and usually my humor it can just cut through it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm happy again. It's also the bipolar, but I digress. Um, I find that it does help. And obviously, Sleeping Brittany is a rom com, so I'm actually getting more into comedy. But I will always love my drama. I usually write drama and horror.
No, and I think this, comedy is honestly sometimes go hand in hand with horror, because there's a lot of good comedy horrors out there.
Yeah,
And
of
I
course.
even horror movies are like now calling in horror like comedy writers to help write the screenplays. I know one Stream 2, they were bringing in people from a comedy show to
Hmm.
help write the script, because they want to add some funny nuances to the movies to make it a little bit whatever, but they want to keep it from getting too campy or too goofy or too
Exactly,
silly.
exactly. And I know a lot of good horror comedy writers. Austin Janowski is a great one down here. He makes comedy gold, but it's all horror. God, who else? My partner Chad Wangle. He's really good at comedy. Jay Bogdanowicz, he's very good at comedy. But it's really like Scream really made it a huge thing, and I love Scream. Ghostface is my third favorite slasher. Um, so it's just really nice to be able to like, oh, you're about to kill somebody, and I'm gonna laugh about it. That's very nice.
Are you excited for the new film coming out?
Yes, way too excited. I love McKenna Grace.
Yeah.
She's obviously the next big thing. I would cast her in anything, but yeah, I am very excited for the new Scream movie.
Speaking of that, is that something that you get kind of do when you do these films? Is kind of you get to do the casting as well?
Yeah, so I cast all of my films. Um, it's just something that I enjoy. I like seeing people grow. My friend Melissa Vu, she has been auditioning for me for probably 3, maybe 4 years now, and seeing her growth from her first audition to her most recent one, she's grown into an amazing actress. And that's not the only person I could say that about. So it's nice being able to see their journey of, oh, they're getting better at this. And yay, we love when people getting better at this. And it's really nice to see how happy they are when they get the role and how excited they are, and like a lot of like say a lot of good things about my scripts, so ego boost because you always need that. um but it's all I love the casting process. If I wasn't a writer, I would probably be a casting director just because I love it so much.
No, that's cool. And I think, with most things, there are a lot of things, like especially in indie, stuff. So, prior I was doing independent wrestling. There's always this arc you can kind of watch or follow people, whether whatever they're doing. When they first get in, they're here, and then they get to a certain level. And even in film, like now with YouTube and such, and this, you're allowed, we're allowed to see a lot of the short films that, directors and producers made before they made any Hollywood blockbusters. And something like, oh my God, wow, that's different. And you can see how much they've grown over time.
Exactly. Like if you look at George Lucas, who I adore, obviously being a Star Wars fan, if you look at his first film, like his first film was a short film. And that's the same. I believe Steven Spielberg, his first film was a short film. Like a lot of the first ones, they started in shorts. And obviously, they're multimillionaires and like they have IMDb lists that are taller than me, and it's just amazing being able to say, "Hey, this is where they started. Now look at them."
But that's I think the cool thing is that everybody kind of starts at the same spot, and then
Mhm.
depending on, sometimes, yeah, it's extra, out of circumstance, but a lot of time, what I've been told is just about the passion. If you have the passion to get it done, you just keep trying until it's done.
Mhm. And I'm definitely that person. Everyone who knows me says I'm a persistent one. I just love being able to see it go from here to where.
So you
ev-
fully immerse yourself in the project and just fully jump into
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people.
I think that's what makes good movies, because I think what it does is, when you see the cast, and the cast sees, the people in charge of the directors and everybody, very overly passionate and not just, trying to make a dollar and make it into a job. It gives them motivation to see the project, do good too, because it's not just about the money now. It's about, they want to see your baby succeed.
Exactly.
And you get like a whole group effort of, we want this film to be good because we're all part of it now. And then it grows from that to just being a really good film.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I think that that's amazing. Especially because, like you said, you kind of started just writing. Not even, if you look back at it now, you probably never thought you'd be writing for, a movie, or writing for, film.
Definitely not.
You know, because even in that, there's a difference between short story, or full novel, or all the different styles of writing, and then there's like script writing, and then
Mhm.
there's actually taking that and making it into usable shots of the camera too.
Mhm. And that
It's a
is
whole
something I
process.
prefer about movies. I do still write books. I just picked up back up on writing books last year. I'm still in the middle of writing my first novel, but I've been in I have a book published from when I was in college. I've just got into back into writing plays as well. But it is nice being able to see it all come together. Like a book, you write it and you're done. It goes to a publisher, it goes on a shelf. Whereas movies, like you get to see all of it. You get to see it from when you write that script up until it becomes a thing. And that process in and of itself is just beautiful.
No, it is. You say you write like a lot of plays. Where are these do these plays end up, like, where do they go? They go to Broadway, they go into local, like, colleges and schools,
I would
local
like to
theaters?
hope that one day eventually they'll get to Broadway. I was a theater kid growing up and I love plays. I love musicals. I can list you off my top five right now. Um, I do hope eventually it gets to Broadway. Actually, a very passionate goal of mine is to be the first EGOT writer. Because a lot of writers they only write movies or they only write TV shows or they only write books or plays or whatever, and I do everything. Um, so I think that's really cool. Um, last
You could actually write the same project, and, like, you could, like, write a novel, then turn it to a film, then bring it into a play.
Exactly. I mean, look at what Stranger Things is doing right now. Harry Potter. God, what's the one I just saw the other day? They're making it into a play right now.
Well, I mean, even Wizard of Oz did a great job, even with between the movie Wizard of Oz being a play, and then just Wicked being a play, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, of
going
course.
back
It's
to being a
something that
movie.
happens a lot more now. And I love that. Obviously, the play that I did last year, Sleeping Beauty, is now being made into a film. It was just a one act play. It premiered as part of the Acts of Love showcase down here in Orlando. It's like they take a whole bunch of short plays, put them together, and they're all about love. And that was really fun to do last year. I plan to do it again this year, and however many years I can do it down the end. But I do love plays. I do love musicals. Obviously, Dance Until You Die was a musical. Um, and that's something that is a huge part of my life, and I want it to continue to be a huge part of my life. And yeah, hopefully one day it ends up on Broadway.
Well, no, I mean, I guess that's the key. I guess I don't go to a lot of plays. I just don't get out there to them, but I just never know. I guess I mean, I see them at like schools or different places, and then I see them, like, the ones that come around to like Boston, and
Mhm.
those are the bigger named ones. So I don't really know the whole scene of that, of where they actually end up, or who ends up actually performing them, and how do you get those performed.
Mhm.
Film, I get. You can get a film, you can get a distributor, and boom, it's out there.
Yeah. So I actually wrote our play as part of Acts of Love. Wrote it specifically for that purpose. Anything outside of that, I'm gonna be honest, I have no clue. I know
Oh,
that Fringe does a lot of things. There's one in Orlando as well as over in Tampa. I don't know about any other ones, but that is also something you can do. Get into Fringe, but otherwise, yeah, I'm probably as dumb as you are.
no, that's great though. I mean, just like you say, just knowing how to do it all, and kind of knowing the differences, or how to write the differences, you kind of can become an all-in-one writer for anything or any project, and
Mhm,
that's really honestly a great skill to have. Everything has to start almost as something writing.
mhm.
Very few films just come from the mind only.
Definitely, definitely.
I've seen it happen. I've seen people improv stuff. I mean, and just kind of go with the flow with things. But again, they're still jotting something down, but I've always, been the kind of person to either watch a movie and then go back and look at the book,
Mhm,
or I've seen there's a book with a movie, so I'll read the book, or try to get through it as best I can. I'll be honest, I don't read a lot. I probably watch more.
mhm,
But then I'll try to watch the movie and see what was different. I
mhm.
usually do it just to see for extra lore, because the books always have more lore, or a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
more.
that was something I
Eh,
did a lot as a kid. I read the book, then watched the movie. I don't read as much anymore as I used to. I try to, mostly with Hunger Games, but the new books and movies that are coming out with it. But I don't read a lot as much anymore. But I do like seeing like how it is as a book versus how it is as a movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the Welcome to Derry series kind of got me back into Stephen King. I don't really have the time to sit and read his 600
Yeah.
page books. I do a lot of Audible and stuff, and audio books with it, and just while I'm doing projects, I'll just have it playing. But I thought they did a really good job. Somebody actually, not of Stephen King, actually taking almost all his universe and trying to connect the dots, and just I love that. When people take and make a cine universe, and then you see, in his case, it was a written universe, and then it kind of
Mhm.
became now a cine universe, and everybody's connecting the dots. It's really
Yeah.
nice to see that. I find it
Yeah,
entertaining.
and Pennywise is my favorite slasher, and yes, he is a slasher. I will argue that to the death. But I do love seeing how big it's gotten. It was one of my favorite books in high school. I read it probably about 5 times over. Uh, but I
Would
do
you
love
still call
how
him a?
big.
But even after reading the book, you would still call him a slasher rather than an entity.
Yes.
What would you say makes him that slasher? Is this because he stalks the stocks?
Um, I mean, I look at it from a film history perspective. Film history is one of my most passionate topics. You have to look because, like, look at Killer Clowns from Outer Space. You can't even say Michael is a human. Like, if you say Michael's a human, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Um, and then obviously Jason,
No, I
he
mean, even Arthur Clown has become supernatural because he's died once. Almost any of the killers that are out there, besides the people in Scream, are pretty much, you
exactly,
know,
and it's like
non-human.
just because we know where he comes from doesn't make him any less of a slasher than like Michael or Jason. And like, oh, they have a human backstory. Okay,
But
I
who
mean,
do they? Maybe they don't. Maybe they stole somebody's human form, and they're a great entity as well somewhere.
exactly. And like,
That's a good way to think about it. I never really thought
just
about it
because
that
we know
way.
he came from outer space doesn't make him any less of a slasher than all the other ones.
No, and they filmed the movie more of a slasher style, or more of a horror, than like something like Alien, which was more of like a, sci-fi horror.
Mhm.
It wasn't filmed as a sci-fi horror. It was filmed as a straight, horror. This is gonna scare you, and I think,
Yeah, it just so happens that the slasher is a alien.
yeah, but in the movie, they're using the clown as a even as the being, I thought made it scary, because there's so many people are afraid of clowns now just because of Tim Curry.
Mhm. Tim Curry's an
You know.
icon. Love that man.
Oh, he is. He does great work, and I mean, Bill did great with the character too, but I think it was kind of the over the top for me, like kind of like Annabelle. Like if you look at the movies in Annabelle, they made the doll really creepy, and if you really saw that doll, you wouldn't go anywhere near it. But the fact that the real Annabelle doll wasn't creepy, it was just
Yeah,
a
the Raggedy
mundane
Ann doll.
doll. And that was kind of like the Pennywise in the original series. He was a happy, colorful clown. Kids could get
But
close to him without him going. Now I know Stephen King read him more as that silver clown from a different era, but that looks creepy to me. I wouldn't go near it again. The the Pennywise that Tim played, you would go as a kid maybe near there and take the boat or do this or do that.
Mhm.
It was much more just friendly, but then terrifying at the same time. Because at that point they weren't using so many VFX. Everything was like practical, and it just
Yeah,
it just seemed more real. And that was just a mini series. That wasn't even a feature film. That was
yeah.
just for made for TV.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I said, I've gone. I like all sorts of horrors, different genres, different styles.
Hmm.
Anything probably from analog horror to you know like you said, kind of drama horror or suspenseful movies, or even shorts like yours, like with a purpose and with a meaning and something deep that is kind of done in a way that it's mysterious, or it might not necessarily leave your heart pounding, but you're intrigued enough to continue to watch it to the end to get to receive the message that it's
Yeah.
giving.
And something I like to do with a lot of my films, and honestly, probably with every single one, it can be made into something longer. Um, Club is actually being made into a feature right now. At least we're trying. We need money, but um, I wrote it into a full fledged feature, and it honestly could have a second one if it wanted to. Table could be written into a mini series about how each character is outside of when they got kidnapped. My Love Lilac could obviously be made into something bigger. Like almost every single one of them can be made into
But like
something.
even the one with the eating disorder, like for me, it was like a twist ending because yeah, I saw her throw up in the beginning, but I wasn't thinking that. I figured she was like pregnant and she was going to tell her parents that she was pregnant.
Mm,
But it wasn't pregnancy at all. It was an eating disorder, which was to me
mm,
was like, whoa, wait, what did she
yeah.
say?
Mm,
So I was totally expecting the other thing because I mean, a lot of people would just written it that way, or that's just more common or whatever.
mm,
But it wasn't even like that. It was something even more impactful.
yeah.
And then they go into kind of that, and you just realize again you remember it because for a while it was kind of I wouldn't say it wasn't frowned upon, but it was almost like I don't know, people just brush it aside as if you want to be in the modeling industry, if you want to be in these certain industries, then you're gonna kind of have to do these things. You need to
Mm,
keep this weight.
yeah.
And it wasn't so much people weren't looking at the health risks. They were looking at, the benefits of the other way until it became
And
a problem.
exactly. And especially with Dance to Die in that first scene in her room, you can see like we never really shot B-roll of it. But there's like pictures of models on her walls. There's pictures of dancers and they all look like pencils.
I
And
mean, I remember watching old like Lifetime movies and such on the topic. It just seemed almost normalized, but at the same point, it was only to an extent when people started having, heart issues or other issues or fainting or falling, then it became a problem, and then it became this whole real thing. Oh my God, you're doing this and that, but nobody was talking about it when all the success was happening,
mhm,
and no one kind of looks at it. Oh my God, the kid is losing weight or not gaining weight.
exactly, exactly.
It's not like when you're an adult, and gain 5 pounds or you lose 5 pounds, you kind of realize it. When you're a kid, you don't really look at it. So
Mhm,
people don't look at it. And but no, I thought that was good. And even the first film that I watched was very impactful. Just seeing somebody, in their own head, kind of just working off negativity of others and using, what other people say to kind of drive how they feel about things.
mhm.
That kind of hits home any which way. Doing anything social media, making movies any which way, you're gonna get negative feedback, negative
Oh
comments,
yeah,
negative
yeah.
things. It comes with anything. And sometimes you just you end up taking it too far. You feel it, and you just gotta realize that you don't need to bring it there. It's not you. It doesn't define you. It doesn't make you who you are. It's just somebody else's words.
Exactly. And that is something that I did struggle with a lot in high school. I got very dark at some points because I just let it get to me. And I didn't really have friends to say, hey, they're wrong. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of friends like that now. Shout out to Claire, shout out to Stephanie, shout out to Jackie. They're like my main girls. I love them and they love me, and it's a beautiful thing. And we just always hold each other up and really just be there for each other when we need to.
Well, I think that's important, though. Everybody needs someone they can like kind of check in with, talk to. Because I mean, not everybody is out there to. I mean, everybody can be friendly. You can have a lot of friends, but not everybody's there to listen to certain things, or can even be supportive if they don't know how or don't know where. Sometimes it can make it worse. So it's always good to have someone you can kind of trust in with some of the deeper, darker things that you can kind of share with. Because I'll be honest, mental health in everywhere in every field has kind of declined since the COVID.
Exactly. Yeah.
Therapists are very scarce. It's hard for people to get them. It's hard to get people to talk to. Other people are using Chat GPT. Other people are using Amazon. And none of it's going to compare to a real human being or that
Exactly.
connection that you need with the real human. So it's great to have that, and I think even in your films, you kind of connect with people through them. Through the film, you feel connected in a way. Even if
Mhm.
you don't suffer from the ailments, you definitely can. You feel connected to the people that are.
Yeah, exactly. And that is something that I hope to do with my films. And even like the people who do deal with that or like know somebody that did. When Dance Until You Die premiered, um, as I was leaving the premiere, I came up. This older couple, came up to me, and their daughter had just got out of the hospital, and she was dealing with anorexia, and I broke down crying. And it's moments like that is like that's why it's worth it. Like even if not everyone relates to her, not even if everyone likes it, there is somebody that does, and I would like to believe that there is at least one person in this world who will love something even if everyone doesn't. And it's just something like that that brings those beautiful moments.
Oh yeah, I mean, and not for nothing. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if you want to talk horror and horror history, most of the movies that we all love today all failed terribly in theaters. Opening days, they did
Oh yeah.
terrible. Nobody liked them.
The
They
Shining is a
didn't get
perfect example.
they all became good through VHS rentals and people just talking about him, and those one or two people that did like him becoming a group of people or finding others that liked it, and all of a sudden you got mass populations of people that like a certain film, and then they're bringing it back, and new generations are falling in love with it. So there's
You
all
have an
these
aunt that
rooms.
lives in the north that has a house in the woods in northern Wisconsin who watches horror movies with you.
Hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the perfect place. I mean, I was telling someone the other day, I mean, in the summertime, I go to the local cemetery. There's like places to park and stuff and roads, and I just park. I'll put on a film on my phone and just kind of chill and watch a movie very quietly and
Mm.
not be bothered with anybody because it's good ambience, A. B, it's quiet. There's my kids aren't around, my wife isn't around, no one's around to talk or do anything. And then it's also, like I said, a good ambience. I end up using that locations a lot in there anyways for filming short stuff and plus I got like family I visit and so forth quite often. It's right in within walking distance. So I'm usually there anyways, kind of just if I try to get a lot, like I said, footage or different things. But I last year I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna hang out and watch movies. And I did. I just put on like a few zombie movies, and I called one of my friends and he called me back. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm watching, this Fulci film." And he's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm actually in the cemetery in my car, just chilling." He's like, "You're crazy.
Hey, I
You're
probably
gonna
would
get
have done the
eaten."
same thing when I was a kid.
It's like, "You're gonna get eaten." And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Don't worry. There's
I
nothing
was a kid
scary in here."
that hung out in trees. I loved trees when I was a kid.
Right. And I mean, sometimes you just want to go to a place where you're not going to be bothered.
Hmm.
I think everybody needs a place to go that you're not going to be bothered. But no, I mean, sometimes I've had some of my, like I said, I've had a lot of my most creative thoughts kind of running through because I will like where it is. It's a cemetery, so there's not, there's a lot of roads in there, but
Hmm.
framed right, you can frame it the roads without getting either side of the
Hmm.
graves. So you can use it for like all different locations for different shots and different
Hmm.
things. And there's like usually nobody in there in the day. So, I mean, at one time I held a pro wrestling event in there with a bunch of people who were wrestling. And the only thing happened was the cops came, somebody said we were fighting. And I had to show that they weren't really fighting. And everybody just left everybody alone. So I was like, okay,
That's
well,
awesome.
if I can do that, then I can film a horror movie in here.
Oh yeah.
Um, But no, with, not usually having a budget and being, kind of new to film myself of actually filming. I've done a lot of editing in the past and stuff like that, but recently I got a camera and I've been kind of playing with that and doing a couple of short films and
Hmm.
have a couple of buddies that want to make a film and they've made
I mean,
films
hey,
and
that's all you need when you're first starting out.
it is. And it's a lot more accessible now. I was able to get like, a Black Magic for pretty good money and it's got good cinematic lenses. Everything works nicely.
Hmm.
It didn't have to cost me a fortune. Like back in the day, I could imagine especially when they used real film reel, must have been
Hmm.
almost impossible for somebody just to go out and make a
Yeah.
film.
No, I
But
I can attest to that actually. Chronic, the movie that is about chronic illnesses. Only my sound guy, my camera girl, and three of my five cast showed up that day. And we still made a movie, and it's a pretty good one, I would say. So that is really all you need is camera, sound, and people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've even done some stuff just with me, a tripod, sound wired, like
Hmm.
hanging from the ceiling, and just went with it sometimes too that way. But no, a small team sometimes works very well, and just having people that you can work with and that they want to just see everybody succeed. I think that mutual success is the real gold in it.
Hmm.
Like you said, you love casting because you love to see these people, their happiness with the role, and you want to see them grow as an actor. And if one day they're in your film, and the next, in a year or two, they're in, some major blockbuster film at the same level, you're like, well, I casted them too, and you get
Yeah,
that little piece.
that is something that I do a lot. There are a couple of my friends who are very special to me. One of my films was their first film, and so it's really nice to see where they grow. And it's like the this last premiere we had that Kings and Queens premiered. One of the guys from Table, the one who says you bitch, he just won his first award, and he thanked me for it, and I'm like, bruh, so much love. Larry Calibrata, love you. But it's really nice to be able to see them go into more stuff. Larry's a great example of that. Larry Alavsky, his first film was mine, and he's grown into a great actor and great filmmaker. Jackie, my best friend that I mentioned earlier, her first speaking line was on Club, and now she's SAG eligible and doing all the things, and it's amazing for her, and I love her. But I love being able to see that, like seeing people grow.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, we're just about almost out of time. I got a few more questions. What do you got for the future? What are you planning on doing now?
So I have three projects that are coming up right now. Like I said, Welcome to the Club. That is going to be the feature length version of the club. It happens before the events of the short. It focuses on Carlos, who he ran away when he was about to age out of the adoption system and fell into a prostitution ring. Theo, who is a cop, his husband is dying of cancer, and Kelly, who is Carlos's best friend, she is trying to rekindle her relationship with her mother after her abusive father passed away. And so we're trying to make that SAG. We're trying to make it a whole huge thing because that doesn't happen in Florida. It does happen sometimes, but um, it's rare among my friends, I guess, at least. So we're trying to make it an actual budget. We're trying to get investors, and we're trying to get grants and stuff like that. Other producers who will want to come on to this a really amazing project. So I've been told. So that's the first thing. The second one is called Nail Salon. It's a TV show. It's about this girl who is like a party girl. She's in college, but she's not really there for a reason. She wants to be wed to to the love of her life, who's actually just kind of a douche. Um, and in the first episode, she goes to a party, gets super drunk, and is raped. So that's been there. I will admit that. Not that specific situation, but that is also something very close to me. And I actually just discussed this with my producer earlier today. I hope she's watching this because she's an amazing human being. Michelle Procopio, she, like I just said, she's amazing. She just won her battle with cancer. And a very
Awesome.
aggressive form of cancer at that. And she's just amazing. And I would like to announce on here that she has been chosen to play Detective Thornton. So I really hope she's watching this because I just can't wait to see her face light up when she sees this. But
That is
um,
great.
that's going to be
Congratulations.
filming. Yes, that's going to be filming later this year, probably sometime in August. It's going to be a full TV show. We have 10 episodes planned. I'm almost done writing episode 2. And the third one is called Sick. It's also a little bit of a longer version of Chronic. It's a little bit of a different story. It follows a girl who is starting her senior year in college. You know, she's ready to move on to that next step. She's ready to graduate. She has a really good outlook on life, and then she starts passing out. And her health just really declines, and she can't figure out what's wrong with her. And she's about to lose her schooling. Her parents are super mad at her for it. And it's just her life is falling apart because she's about to get diagnosed with a chronic illness. And that's going to be filming later this year as well.
Well, I love to see you busy like that. Because, as I said, your shorts that you do, I've seen, were very great. I can only imagine what you could do with more time, more budget, more money, more, bigger, grandiose things. You have a very unique style of telling
Thank
stories, and I
you.
and
Thank
I
you.
really love that. Where can people find you besides, I'll mention your YouTube because I mean I know it. I don't think the people at home know it yet. But where can people find you besides that? Also, do you do the other social media games? You have like an Instagram,
Yes, I
Facebook?
do. So I'm on Facebook at Sky Belluomini, the way it's spelled exactly like that on the screen. I'm also on Instagram. It's going to be at Sky Belluomini, is my personal page. And then Skyward Productions also has its own Instagram and Facebook page. The Facebook is Skyward Productions, exactly how you see it on your screen. And then the Instagram is sky.word productions, if that makes sense. You basically just put a dot in the middle of Skyward.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. Well, great. I can't wait to see, like I said, the more you do, definitely make sure you send me and shoot me links. Love to share things as they come, trailers and so forth, and really get to take a look at all the stuff you're putting out there. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
It's been a great night. And thank you everybody at home for watching. As always, stay spooky, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.